Let us close the eyes for a moment. Let us remember God and the Masters. We will pray together. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahe Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May the Divine protect us all. May we enjoy food together. May we meditate and pray together. May we attain wisdom through our study and discussion. May there be no conflict among us. May there be peace within and everywhere. Om. Amen. I bow to all-pervading divinity and all the saints and sages of all times and places. I bow to the masters of Kriya Yoga lineage, and humbly I bow to divine living power of God within each one of you. Good evening and welcome to this new series of lectures on the topic of 6 spiritual treasures for a sincere seeker. We are thankful to God and all the masters for all the beautiful teachings we have received from them. I would like to welcome you all from the Mountain Ashram in Denver. Although we are in lockdown, including this ashram also is closed, but we are still connected. And I am remembering all of you, wherever you are in any part of the world. I am praying for all of you. So this is the best way to get connected through the talks. In modern times, people think that one becomes a disciple by going to a spiritual teacher, getting initiated, or going to an ashram or a spiritual place. Thus, people say that they are disciple of this guru or a student of a particular organization. But practically speaking, it is not the case at all. When one is awarded admission to a school, it does not mean that he or she is a student. This is especially so in spiritual life, where the studentship should be earned through effort, through hard work, through qualifications. Therefore, one should try to qualify to be a student. There is a saying in Hindi, Guru mile lakh lakh, chela mile na ek. Means there are plenty of teachers available. There is no scarcity. But a real disciple, a real good student is very rare to find. In modern time, we all see, because of this social media, there's a lot of interaction, lot of good news, lot of moral teachings also are transferred or exchanged. Even sometimes I get beautiful messages from my college friends. They have found me after many years. And sometimes I also exchange some beautiful teachings or quotes with them. So it's good. Nowadays on WhatsApp and Facebook universities, we get knowledge. And this knowledge is not really knowledge, it is just information. The real knowledge is that which is applied into daily life and experience, then it becomes real jnana and wisdom. That becomes knowledge. So, however, information is good because it helps us, it motivates us to follow this spiritual discipline. It is said that in spiritual life, one needs a strict, disciplined lifestyle. In the Vedantic texts, there are different qualifications that students should try to cultivate in order to live like a true yogi. It is natural tendency in us that we always want to get knowledge. Also, as a human being, our duty and natural tendency is to earn money and treasure from various sources. I remember when I was working as a marketing manager almost 20 years ago, more than 20 years ago. Then I had some distributors who were working for my company, and one day I asked one of the distributors in Gujarat, state of Gujarat, in the west coast of India, that why do you have so many businesses? He said that because the more money I get, I'll be more happy. However, we try to earn money and wealth from various sources, but in spiritual life, a sincere seeker is also required to earn some treasures, which are known as the qualification for him to begin the path of discipline. We all have these treasures hidden within us, and we just need to explore them and manifest them in our lives. If you read Bhagavad Gita in the 16th chapter, verse number 1st through 5, there's a description of Deva Asur Sampatti. And the name of this chapter is Devasur Sampat Vibhaga Yoga. So Deva and Asur Sampatti. Sampatti means treasure. Deva is divine. Asura is demonic. So there are two types of treasures. I'm not talking about the material wealth, but spiritually, two types of wealth. And if you read this chapter, in the beginning 3 verses, there is mention of 26 divine qualities or divine treasures. And in coming to 4th and 5th verse, 6 demonic treasures or qualities are described by Lord Krishna. I was just wondering, many problems in the world, even in human beings, we see that many people are not good. But this is not really true, because there are 26 divine treasures and only 6 demonic qualities. So which one is greater? We all have good qualities, more in numbers, but we are not united and we are not expressing or practicing them. That is the problem. Well, so there are 3 categories of treasures we can divide now based on this Deva Asura Sampatti. The first division is, we can say, Daiva Sampatti, which we can call as the Shreya in Sanskrit. Shreya means that which is desired. This is the divine treasure. So Daiva Sampatti is the first divine treasure. Second is known as Sadhana Sampatti. Sadhan, you know, the practice. So this is the treasure of subject. Why subject? One who is practicing is the subject. Suppose you are meditating, so you are the subject. And Sadhana Sampatti means this is the practice by the subject. So treasure of the subject. The third division we can say Vishaya Sampatti, which is Asura Sampatti. So what is Vishaya? Vishaya means objects of this world, sense objects we can say, which we enjoy. So Vishaya Sampatti or Asura, this is prayer. Prayer means everybody likes material, treasure of the material, which is limited. But divine treasure, Daiva Sampatti, is unlimited. Once you earn it, it remains with you, not only in this lifetime, but also you carry forward in other lives. Increases with spending, but inner wealth increases with use, and this inner wealth decreases our grief, our sadness. So Daiva Sampatti is the inner treasure. And what we earn in our jobs, etc., that is our outer wealth, which decreases when we spend it. If you read the classical text, preliminary text on Vedanta, the name is Tattva Bodha. So in Tattva Bodha, Acharya Adi Shankara describes 6 treasures for a spiritual seeker. And this is the reference when Adi Shankara is explaining about the 4-fold qualifications of a spiritual seeker. Remember, in our ordinary life also, if we want to apply for a job, we have to go through some interview or sometimes written paper examination. When we qualify for that through our talents, skills, then only we can get a job. So also in spiritual life, we have to qualify first. We cannot just become a student by getting initiated or learning some techniques from a teacher or maybe some other sources. What are those qualifications? So Adi Shankara is describing 4-fold qualifications: Viveka, Vairagya, Shamadhi, Shat Sampatti, and Mumukshutvam. So I'll just translate. Vairagya, first is Viveka. Viveka means discrimination between real and unreal, permanent and impermanent, eternal and ephemeral. What is real, we have to follow. What is unreal, we have to leave behind. Second quality is Vairagya. Vairagya means detachment. It's the attitude of renunciation. Means we don't need to go away from the world, living in the world, enjoying everything with this attitude that I'm not the owner of this world, but I'm a manager. I have to manage it. So Vairagya is the second quality. Third is Shama Adi, Shama, etc. 6 treasures. And fourth is Mumukshutvam, intense desire for liberation. These are the 4-fold qualification one has to earn, then only one becomes adhikari, qualified to become a student or follow a spiritual path. Now you might be thinking that, oh, nobody told us when we got initiated into Kriya Yoga. Because we are yogis, number one. And these qualifications we develop as we begin the practice. So don't worry, it is simultaneous for all of you. Many of you have already qualified, but these qualifications you have to earn as you practice regularly. But as far as the Vedanta is considered, one has to first qualify, then only teacher will accept. So we are lucky, we are fortunate, right? So today we'll begin the discussion on this Shama Adi Sadhana Sampatti, which is Shat Sampatti or six. So what are the six treasures? This will be the topic for this series. In Tattva Bodha, Adi Shankara is telling about this. Remember, all the ancient scriptures are a dialogue. A student and teacher, they always have a dialogue. It is not one-way communication. The sincere seeker is asking a question and the teacher is replying and explaining about that. So the question is Shamadhi Sadhan Sampatti Ka. Sham Adi, Sham etc. Sadhana Sampatti. Sadhana Sampatti we discussed that the treasure, or we can say here accomplishments of sadhana or practice. So what are the ka means what? What are the accomplishments of sadhana starting with shama? Starting with shama, that means not the only quality, shama etc. So adi. If you read Guru Paduka Stotra, Guruji has written a beautiful commentary on that, and on certain occasions when we worship Guru's holy sandals, we chant this hymn, Ananta Sansara Samudratara Nauka Itabhyam Guru Bhakti Dabhyam. So in that, this word comes, Shamadhi Shatka Pradavaibhavabhyam, means serving the holy feet of the Guru Preceptor bestows Sham etc. six spiritual treasures. So in one line, the solution is given that if you serve wholeheartedly, serve the feet of the Guru. Take it granted, feet of the Guru means not literally you have to bow and serve the feet. Here, to have devotion towards the Guru Preceptor. So when we serve the Guru Preceptors, we earn these qualifications which are known as Shama, etc., six spiritual treasures. So this was the question. What are the accomplishments of sadhana starting with Shama? Now Adi Shankara, the Acharya, is replying. Shamo, Dama, Uparatihi, Titiksha, Shraddha, Samadhanam cha iti. Shama, number one. Second is Dama. Third is Uparama. Fourth is Titiksha. Fifth is Shraddha. And sixth treasure is Samadhana. Cha means and, iti, thus. So they are, now what is the reply? They are Shama, Dama, Uparama, which is also known as Uparati, Titiksha, Shraddha, and Samadhana. This is in Sanskrit. Now I'll explain you what are these. Shama is the control over the mind. Dama is the control over the senses. And Uparama or Uparati, this is, both are used for the same meaning, Uparama or Uparati. So we'll discuss in more detail, but just to give you the meaning here, it is Shama, Dama, Uparati. So Uparama or Uparati means to observe, strictly observe one's own duty. So this is Uparama. Then Titiksha. Titiksha means forbearance or tolerance. And fifth one is Shraddha. Shraddha is the faith. And sixth one is Samadhana, one-pointedness or concentration. So these are the six qualities. Now let's discuss them. Without money in your pocket, you can go to any place, but you cannot do anything in your worldly life. Means without money, in your pocket, you can go there. There means in spiritual life, you don't need money. But in the world, you cannot do anything without money. However, to reach the goal in spiritual life, you must have that spiritual treasure within. Otherwise, it is difficult to progress. There are two groups of treasure: material wealth and spiritual treasure. Spiritual treasure is imperishable. The more you give, the more you get. And Gurudev used to say, Jato karibe dan tato jabe bede, in Bengali language, means the more you give, the more you will receive. This is what is happening with spiritual treasure. But the material treasure you give and then it is decreasing day by day. So there is no fear of loss and no thief can take spiritual treasure away from you. Suppose you have knowledge of a particular science, or you have knowledge of yoga, you have knowledge of Vedic astrology. No thief can take it away from you and you will never lose it. Once you know it, it will remain with you. And not only here, in the next life also you will carry those memories and it will be revived by grace of God and masters, as it happened to me also. However, spiritual wisdom remains immortal in you and it multiplies with your practice. Therefore, the sixfold treasures are for spiritual growth. They enhance spiritual practices that we should treasure in our hearts and in our life to excel in spirituality. The sixfold spiritual treasures are all technical words. If, for example, you want to study physics, you must know the technical words used in physics, such as velocity, acceleration, momentum, simple harmonic motion, projectile motion, and so forth. Any scientific topic has several technical words that should be known when studying the material to gain knowledge. If you want to study economics, you should know words that are specific to economics. Similarly, in understanding the intricacies of life and in understanding the scriptures, yogic or Vedantic texts, you should know the technical words or the concepts. So what we are going to discuss in this treasure, they are all technical words for the spiritual life. Let's come to the first one, Shama. First treasure or qualification is Shama. So the question is, Shamaha kaha? Shamaha kaha? What is Shama? Answer is given in the same verse, Mano Nigraha. Mano Nigraha. Many of you have taken Sanskrit classes from Swami Adhyatmanandji, so it will be a refresher for all of you. Mano Nigraha. What is Shama? Control or mastery over the mind. So this is the translation. Control or mastery over the mind is Shama. What is the Shama? Shama, from this root word Shama, another word has come which we use every day almost, which is known as Shanti. We chant peace invocation, we say Shantihi, Shantihi, Shantihi. So this has Shanti has come from Sham. And from Sham, another word is derived, which is called Shankara. What is Shankara? Shankara means who is auspicious. So Sham means auspiciousness, number one. Second meaning of Sham is goodness. Sham means also peace. And fourth meaning of Sham is balance. Nigraha. What is Nigraha? So root verb here is graha. And ni is the prefix. So ni means with confidence or understanding, and graha means to hold or to accept. So nigraha means with understanding to accept something. That is called nigraha. And mano nigraha, controlling the mind with understanding and holding on to that concept. This is what is shama. Shama. So there is one letter ma. Ma means mana or mind. So shama means mangalamaya mana. In Sanskrit, shama means, because sha means auspiciousness, ma means mind. So shama means mangalamaya mana, auspicious mind, or the mind is full of auspiciousness and nobleness, kindness. That is called shama. When the mind is balanced and full of goodness, the mind is rich, healthy, and strong. The ordinary mind is restless, agitated, and full of expectation in a mixture of happiness and unhappiness. The mind that is full of auspiciousness and balance is truly a treasure. That's why the first treasure is Shama. In Bhagavad Gita, second chapter, verse number 70, you will find this word. Sa shantim apnoti na kama kami. So from sham, shanti word is derived. What is the meaning? One who has desires will not attain peace. Sa shantim apnoti na kama kami. So one who is following path of discipline, controlling the mind, he will attain peace. Not that person who has desires, because the more desires you have, the more restlessness will be there. And desires do not come to end. One desire leads to another. You fulfill one desire and another will pop up. So desires are to be transformed. Shama means mind control. In simple language, we'll say Shama means the first quality, and this is known as control over the mind. This is very hard to achieve. When we speak, it is easy to understand, to listen, very hard to achieve this task. The mind can cause bondage. It can also confer liberation. Mind is amalgam of rajasic and tamasic modes, the passionate and dull attitude. You'll see many people are rajasic in nature, means they are very passionate, very active, dynamic, and sometimes restless also. And tamasic means dull, don't want to do anything, whatever happens, it's okay. So mind is more amalgam of rajasic and tamasic modes, and rarely it goes into the sattvic mode. Mind can easily be polluted. Mind takes every opportunity to run helplessly behind the senses. When there is a single hole in the pot of water, it becomes empty within a short time. With this example, I remember during my college days when I met my spiritual mentor and I wanted to progress quickly. One day he told, first thing you need to plug the holes in the pot. I said, what does it mean? He said that, look, your mind is like a big pot. It has many holes. Holes means many negative tendencies we are carrying from our past lives. And those tendencies, they drain our energy. With meditation, with japa, with some spiritual practice, we earn something. But when we keep in this pot, because of those holes, it is drained, leaks away. So when there is a single hole, even one hole in the pot of a water, it becomes empty within a short time. Similarly, even if a single sense is out of control, we have 10 sense organs. Even if one sense organ is out of control, we will likely be thrown into bondage. Therefore, every sense has to be mastered. The potency and purity of the mind can be maintained by good practices like meditation and contemplation, japa, reciting some mantra mentally, or bhajana, like doing some chanting in group, and even puja or worship. So these are different modes through which we can attain purity and elevate our mind, keep it always in the positive aspect. So these are the ways to plug those leakages from which our energy, hard earned energy from meditation and other practices, go away. With the strength and skill thus reinforced, the mind gets fine tuned. Manas or mind is but a bundle of thoughts. Mind is a collection of one's wants and wishes. All desires are there. As soon as a desire arises from the mind, the intellect, which is known as buddhi in Sanskrit, intellect should evaluate its value and validity. Is it good or bad? Will it help or hinder? Where will this lead or end? All these questions we have to ask, analyze. If the mind does not submit to this probe, it will land itself in the path of ruin. If it does not, if it does and obeys the intelligence, if the mind obeys the intelligence, it can move along the right path. We have three chief instruments for uplifting ourselves. Remember, God has given us three gifts, three inner instruments for uplifting. Number one, intelligence. We call buddhi, intellect, mind, and the senses. Never think that mind or senses are for our destruction. Gurudev used to say that God has not given you sense organs for your destruction, but it is for your evolution. When the mind gets enslaved by the sense organs, we get entangled and bound. The same mind, when it is regulated by the intellect, sometimes we call it higher mind or it is higher faculty. When the same mind, which is putting us or taking us downward, is regulated by intellect, it can make us aware of our true identity, the self, Atman. Thus, the act of ignoring the stream of thoughts which come on account of the past tendencies, which are known as vasanas, and diverting our attention towards that, towards what has to be done in this life, constitutes shama. So the act of ignoring the stream of thoughts and diverting our attention towards what has to be done in this life is known as shama. Strong-willed people can achieve this by just willpower. Remember Paramahansa Yogananda ji? Very strong willpower, and through his willpower, he could create miracles. You know all these stories in Autobiography of a Yogi. But for ordinary people, they have to strive for it with the help of Dhamma. Those who are having strong willpower, it is easy for them to control the mind or practice this treasure, Shama. But for other people, they have to strive for it with the help of Dhamma, which is the next quality or treasure we will discuss later. I would like to tell you a beautiful story I heard when I was in our Brahmachari training course in 2002. There was a king, and this king was a little bit crazy. he had a goat, and once he declared that anybody who could feed this goat stomach full, I would give 10,000 gold coins, and if people cannot feed the goat stomach full, then the person can be imprisoned. However, 10,000 gold coins is a huge amount of money, so people were interested. Many people came forward to take this test. So according to the condition, the goat was handed over to the person for whole day. In the morning, person can take the goat, feed whole day, and when he brings in the evening, the king would test whether the goat is fed properly or not. And the test was, when the goat was brought back to the court, king would ask his minister for some tender green grass. And as soon as he shows the grass to this goat, immediately goat wants to eat it. And then king would say, you have not fed the goat stomach full, so you are imprisoned. In this way, many people were sent to prison. In that village, nearby village, there was a little boy, teenage boy. So when he heard about this condition, he told his grandmother that we are so poor that it's difficult to maintain our life. I would like to go to the king's court and try this test. Just to feed a goat is not a big deal. And grandmother said that you don't know. That goat is not a goat, it is some devil. Because it can never be satisfied, and many people have already been imprisoned. So don't try this. But the boy was very firm in his determination. He said, no, I would definitely try and I will be successful. Grandmother didn't want, because he was the only support for her old age. But still, this teenage boy, he went to the king's court and he said that I want to accept the challenge and I want to feed your goat. First, the king laughed and said that you are just a child. But when he insisted, so king said, okay, let it be so. Next day, this teenage boy, he took the goat to jungle. Whole day, the goat was free to eat anything. But as soon as the goat started eating some leaves, this boy had kept a big staff and he was just giving a big blow. So goat was shivering and couldn't eat. Again, goat was trying to eat something and he was beating. Just one blow and goat was really scared. So whole day it continued and poor goat could not eat a single grass or a little grass or single leaf even. But at the same time, goat was scared because he was having a staff in his hand. And in the evening, boy took this goat and came back to the king's court and said that according to your condition, I have fed the goat stomach full and you can check. So king ordered his minister that bring some tender green grass. And when he showed the grass, goat looked at the grass and looked at the boy who was still holding the staff. And because of that fear, goat could not move forward. So king tried again and again, but goat did not move. Therefore, the boy declared that, look, the goat is stomach full now, that's why it is not eating anymore. So king had to accept the defeat, and according to condition, he had to give 10,000 gold coins to this boy. This is just a story, but it has a great message. Our mind is the goat. So whenever mind is asking, demanding something, do this, do that, because that is the nature of mind. Mind is never satisfied. Whenever mind is demanding, we have to use our intellect and tell whether it is right or not, whether we should do it or not. And with mind, you have to be strict. So with mind, how to be strict? You have to pacify it with little discipline. So staff in the hands of that boy represents discipline. So one has to be disciplined. Whenever mind is demanding something, show the discipline, show the staff, so that mind will not be distracted. So this is how one has to be careful. Don't listen to mind all the time, because mind will continuously demand, mind will distract you, and we will never become master of the mind if we listen to the mind all the time. So with mind, we have to be tactful. Little discipline is good. In the Amrit Bindu Upanishad, there is a mantra. Mantra number 2. Mana eva manusyanam karanam bandha mokshayoho bandhaya vishaya saktah muktam nirvishan smrataha. Mind is the cause of bondage as well as liberation for human beings. When mind is attached to the worldly objects, it is bound, and when it is free from the worldly objects, directed towards God consciousness, it is free. It becomes the means of liberation. Same mind. Why? Because mind is an inner instrument. Remember, instrument is neither good nor bad. It is just instruments. It depends how it is used. Suppose you have knife. So knife is just instrument. You can cut the vegetable, or you can perform a surgery with a knife. You can kill also with the same knife. So knife is an instrument. So also our mind is inner instrument. How do we use it? How do we regulate it? It depends on each individual. So Shama is the control over the mind. As the mind, so is the man. Now mind has two qualities. One is called avalambana. Avalambana. Second is called chitta vikshepa. These are the two inherent qualities of mind. What is avalambana? Avalambana means support. Mind is always occupied by something. You can just think for a moment. Can you make your mind completely still? Maybe for 1 second, 2 seconds, a minute or so. But again, it jumps to some thought, from one thought to other thought, one idea to other idea, one concept to other concept. It is always occupied with something. This is called avalambana. It cannot remain without the support of thought, except when we are in deep meditative state. Be it good or bad, but mind is always occupied by something. This is avalambana. Another speciality of mind is it cannot stick to one thing for a long time. Suppose there is a thought arising in your mind. How long this thought will remain in you? Few seconds, a minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, maybe half an hour if it is too strong. But again, after half an hour, some other thought will occupy the mind and you will forget it, or it will go back into your subconscious or in memory. But this thought cannot remain whole day, even 24 hours, or maybe after 24 hours you'll forget it. So mind cannot stick to one thing, one thought for a long time. Mind is by nature restless. When it is not at rest, it starts developing thought processes, and that is known as chitta vikshepa. So first quality is avalambana. It is always occupied by something. It cannot stick to one thought for a long time. And second is, when it is restless, it starts developing some thought patterns. We call it vritti, or in other way we can say chitta vikshepa. Vikshep means, just like in the lake, you throw some stone and you'll see some waves. So this is vikshep. It is not still. So chitta here again is referred to the mind. In the lake of mind, all these different waves, that chitta vikshep. And this chitta vikshep is otherwise known as vritti. In Yoga Sutra of Patanjali, you can read about it. And these chitta vikshep or vrittis give rise to either pain or pleasure. So these two states of mind we always go into. In Patanjali Yoga Sutra, it is chapter first book and fifth verse. Vrattayaha panchatayaha klishta aklishta. Mental thought processes are fivefold. They are painful or painless. In Sanskrit language, this happiness and unhappiness are called as sukha and dukkha. So in both words, sukha and dukkha, there is one letter which is common, and that letter is kha. Sukha, dukkha. So kha means akasha brahma. Kha shabda akasha brahma. So kha means akasha, means vacuum or space, formless space. Su means good, pleasant, and du means bad or painful. So sukha means a vacuum which is pleasant, and dukkha means a vacuum which is unpleasant. So vacuum means, don't think about the vacuum cleaner. Vacuum means formless state or completely void or space. So you can say sukha means happiness, means it's a pleasant state. But if it is a void or vacuum, or you can say just space, both sukha and dukkha, they are void. In nature, both are void. So there is no physical existence of happiness or unhappiness. You need to understand this. Sukha and dukkha, both are void, because kha means void. So both are void in nature. So there is no physical existence of happiness and unhappiness, because the void which is pleasant at one time might be painful at different time. Lahiri Mahasaya said, Samipe kha sukha, durete kha dukkha. Means when you are near God or near space, you are happy, and when you are away from God, you are unhappy. Here kha means also Brahma. Brahma means God the absolute. So when you are near God, you are happy, sukhi. When you are away from God, you are unhappy. Now if you contemplate about the chakra, let's come to Kriya, the 7 chakras. So each chakra has a particular representing element. Bottom center is earth element, second center is water element, navel center fire element, heart center air element, space element or ether is in the throat center, soul center and fontanelle are beyond elements. So if you see in 7 chakras, heart center is in the middle. So kha means akash, space, kha means Brahman here. So space and Brahman. So Lahiri Mahasaya said Samipe kha. As you are near the kha, means either you are in the throat center and above, then you are happy. Especially when you are in fontanelle, you are happy. But when you go down, means away from this space or away from God in the fontanelle, away means towards the down chakras, like in second center, bottom center, or even in navel center. So you are in the world and you are unhappy. So long as we keep our mind elevated within the cranium, above the soul center and fontanelle, there is no happiness or unhappiness. The moment our mind goes down in any of the chakra, then we feel or experience happiness or unhappiness. So physically, they don't exist. It is just a state of mind. However, we are discussing Shama. So we'll stop here because we have to meditate also. Theory is not enough. We have to do practical. We'll continue our discussion about Shama in the next class. And we'll spend some time in general meditation. Please sit straight. Wherever you are sitting, just keep the spine straight. Close the eyes. Mind is the inner instrument. It is a gift from God. Let us utilize this gift to go near God, closer to God. Let us try to withdraw our mind and senses from the external world. Keep your attention in between the eyebrows, the third eye, eye of wisdom. Let us become aware of our surroundings. The space around our body. From the space, bring your attention to the body. Inside the body, within the spine, 7 chakras. On top of the head, fontanel. Base of the spine, bottom center. To introvert the mind completely, now focus on the breath. Just observe the breath within the nostril. Feel gentle friction with each inhalation and exhalation. If any thought arises in your mind, just divert this to the breath. Feel more relaxed. Breath is also little bit regulated, more rhythmic. Now to regulate the breath so that we can regulate the mind, we will practice some deep breathing pranayam technique. From bottom center, base of the spine to top of the head, consciously slow, long, and deep breathing. With each inhalation, let us feel more peace. With each exhalation, let us feel love. Please inhale, slow, long, deep. Peace. Exhale, love. Inhale, peace. Exhale, love. Inhale, peace. Exhale, love. Inhale, love. Exhale, peace. Inhale, love. Exhale, peace. Inhale, peace. Exhale, love. Inhale, peace. Exhale, love. Inhale, love. Exhale, peace. Normal conscious breath. Breath becomes slow and feeble. Mind is tranquil. The body is completely steady. Remaining in the cranium. Enjoy this stillness. Meditate in silence. absolute silence, experiencing divine blissful state. Bring your attention in between the eyebrows. In all your activities, always try to maintain this state of calmness and peace. This is our real nature. Praying to God, praying to all the masters. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramayah, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May all become happy and healthy. May everyone be noble, loving, and generous, compassionate. May there be no suffering or sorrow. May there be more love, peace, harmony among us and in this entire creation. Om. Amen. Open the eyes. So just to tell you that Guruji has written a beautiful commentary on this text. We discussed from the text by Adi Shankara Tattva Bodha. So Guruji has written this commentary, Path of Knowledge. So you can refer to this, and whatever we are discussing, you can find a lot of things there. So this is your study material, Path of Knowledge. And if you have any question, so you can write to me, and in the next class, we'll take up those questions. And just to tell you, yes, these talks are being recorded and it will be available online on our website, maybe by tomorrow. So once again, thank you all. Stay safe, meditate at home regularly. I am praying to God and Masters for your all-round development. See you on the next Thursday. Till then, we all will meditate. Thank you all.